Welcome to the podcast summary of Graham Westley. Today's story is about a football manager who never really did things by halves. Graham Westley mixed business instincts, blunt force squad rebuilding, and a very intense leadership style to produce some remarkable highs, especially at Stevenage, and some equally dramatic fallouts elsewhere. If you want the short version, he could change a club fast. But living with the method was often the hard part. Wesley's background helps explain a lot of this. He left school at 16 and went into his grandfather's construction services company, where he helped grow turnover from about 1 million to 20 million pounds and expanded the workforce from 50 people to 700. So when he moved into football, he didn't really arrive with the mindset of a traditional coach working his way up through neat little footballing lanes. He came in like an operator, somebody thinking about scale, control, structure, and fixing problems fast. That showed up very clearly in 1999, when he bought a controlling interest in Farnborough Town and appointed himself manager. Owner, executive, and first-team boss all in one person is a lot of power in one tracksuit. One of the clearest patterns in Wesley's career is that he didn't really believe in gentle renovation. He preferred the teardown. At Stevenage, before the 2008-09 season, he brought in 12 players and later added more during the campaign in a way that helped fuel a club record 24-match unbeaten run. That's important, because it shows the method wasn't random churn for the sake of it. He was trying to build momentum through repeated intervention, almost like a manager treating the squad as a machine that needed different parts until it really clicked. The most extreme version came at Preston. In one summer, 21 players went out and 18 came in, after Westley said he had cut the wage bill by 60%. His argument was that short-term pain was necessary because the deeper structure of the club needed fixing. The problem was that results worsened, and Preston sacked him before that longer-term case could persuade many people. Stevenage is where the Westley approach looks most convincing. After returning in 2008, he won the 2009 FA Trophy, then took the club to the 2009-10 Conference Premier title with 99 points from 44 matches. That alone would be a huge achievement. But it kept going. Stevenage then won promotion again through the 2011 League Two playoffs, which meant successive promotions and a place in League One for the first time in the club's history. That's the kind of run that turns a manager from merely divisive into genuinely consequential. And there were cup moments too, including the 3-1 win over Premier League Newcastle United, which gave the whole project a bigger stage. What stands out in those Stevenage teams is that Wesley's best work wasn't about one upset or one emotional spike. It was about building long streaks where the team just kept coming. In the 2009-10 promotion season, Stevenage took 42 points from the final 15 league matches. The following season, during the run to promotion, they won 9 of 11 games. That tells you he was chasing rhythm and accumulation, not just the occasional headline. Even his motivational style fit that idea. Before playing Newcastle, he told the Stevenage players to go out and beat them 5-0. He said that if they achieved even 20% of that standard, it would still be enough to win. It's exaggerated on purpose, obviously, but you can hear the logic. Set the target high enough that normal ambition starts to feel too small. Wesley's intensity could clearly produce a response, but it could also scorch the room. At Stevenage, after a 4-1 defeat to Canvey Island, he publicly challenged the supporters and told them he would turn the season around. The team then won 4 straight matches, which made him look like a man who could turn conflict into momentum. But elsewhere, the same edge caused deep friction. At Newport, the club secretary called him an impossible man to work with, and a player accused him of unfair treatment. The board ended up consulting fans and players before dismissing him, which says a lot about how far the tension had spread beyond results. That's really the central contradiction of his career. The pressure and confrontation could sharpen a club, or they could isolate him from the very people he needed around him. His career record across clubs is full of swings like that. At Rushden and Diamonds, he lifted the team from 22nd to 12th, and was then dismissed during a 7-match unbeaten run. At Peterborough, he even won League One Manager of the Month for November 2015, but was later fired after the side dropped to 14th. And then there's Newport, where he signed 14 players in January 2017 and called it a short-term risk. The gamble didn't pay off in time. The club was still bottom and 11 points from safety when he was sacked. After he left, caretaker manager Michael Flynn led a remarkable escape. Westley maintained that his recruitment made that survival possible, which is a very Westley argument, really. Even when the ending went badly, he still saw the structural logic underneath it. Looking across all of it, Westley comes across as a manager who treated clubs almost like turnaround businesses. He believed in bold intervention, dramatic personnel changes, and setting demands high enough to jolt people out of whatever habits had settled in. Sometimes that produced historic progress, especially at Stevenage, where the results were too big to dismiss. Sometimes it produced instability, resentment, and the sense that the process was almost too combustible to sustain. He's one of those football figures where the argument about him is almost inseparable from the evidence for him. So that's Graham Westley, a manager who kept asking clubs and players to change quickly, think bigger, and live with the turbulence. When it worked, it really worked. When it didn't, there usually wasn't much of a quiet middle ground. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.